There is a story in the Bible about a man. God takes out his rib and makes a companion. This is the first woman, they say. That was the first man, and this is the first woman made from his rib. In the old days, they used to use spider webs as band-aids. It makes sense when you think about it. Spider webs are actually really sticky. You could dress your wounds in them if you really needed to. The day I realized I was no longer in love with you, a spider crawled into my mouth while I was sleeping. It tickled the walls of my esophagus and used my clavicle as a living room. They say that the lack of greenery in urban environments is causing some sort of disconnect in the world. They say that nature is actually this kind of intrinsic part of ourselves, and that if we don't see nature on a regular basis, we slowly go crazy. We become psychopaths without nature. This is why we garden. In the 19th century, there was an idea that Penelope was knitting as she was waiting for Odysseus to come home, despite the fact that knitting wasn't even invented during Homeric times. Correctly translated, Penelope was actually weaving, bringing threads over and under each other, crisscrossing each other. The fabric she made would have been incredibly strong. Knitting falls apart so easily, but woven textiles are almost indestructible. In the old days, people used to take road trips. They would pack up their bags and head down Route 66 in search of America. Now, people take planes. They look out the window and point and say, "Look, there's America." It's easy to see America from a plane, but not to discover it. They say that spider webs are stronger than steel. I wonder if I could build a skyscraper using only spider webs. I would build it so high that I would reenact that painting on the Sistine Chapel ceiling where God's finger and Adam's finger are so close to touching. Sometimes, if it is too snowy to garden, or if they just don't like gardening, people will knit or crochet. They mull over the broken parts of their lives with a repetitive knit one, purl two, knit one, purl two. Something about the ritual of stitch after stitch comforts them. Sometimes these people will drop a stitch and everything falls apart. The day I realized I was no longer in love with you, a spider built its web inside my torso. From when I evicted you from my chest, and you stormed out of there so quickly and so painfully that all of my ribs were crisscrossed. The multitude of tiny, sticky strings pulled each rib back into place. A woven bandage. In the old days, Penelope would sit at her loom for hours. She weaved for hours. She would crisscross the strings, the fibers of her being, and she was strong, and the fabric was strong, and Odysseus came back, and you never came back. But at least my ribs are intact.